On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about All We Love, We Leave Behind by Converge.
I'm OJ.
How could you? How could you do this?
Oh, fuck.
You've ruined it. Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like talking about it. And today we're going to talk about a 2012 album from one of my very favorite bands, Converge, All We Love, We Leave Behind, which was their newest album at the time I started listening to them. So we'll talk more about Converge.
I'll tell you one thing right now. I identified with this more than any other stuff that I've heard.
This is very good. I've slept on this for a while, for no particular reason, I think. So I was happy to be listening to it a whole bunch over the last week. It's a great album. But we'll talk more about that later. First, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
You doing fine?
I'm doing fine.
All right, Dan.
Oh, yeah, I'm fatter than I've ever been. Yeah.
It's just a continuing development.
It is. And I feel like I'm just achieving more greatness as I go.
Achieving more greatness?
Yes. And great in the, greater than sense.
greater than you once were.
Like I'm a great big fat fuck.
In terms of size.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I see this nurse every 3 months, and she prescribes me don't kill the family pills, and I take those, and she weighs me and takes my blood pressure, everything like that. Every time I get on the scale,
prize racehorse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she rubs a steroid on my skin, and every time now I'll get on the scale. She'll go, "Oh, okay."
You don't want to hear that.
No, you don't want to hear that
when you're at the doctor.
No.
Last time I went to the doctor, I was kind of surprised that I hadn't gained any weight between visits. Because it was between visits was a whole winter period, and I was just surprised that I had not gotten any fatter. So I was happy with that. I've been about the same weight since my senior year of college.
Wow,
I've been at about 230.
Really?
So I'm all right with that. 230, 235 between. I think it kind of floats between 230 and 240.
Speaking of 230, I had to go to the dentist this week.
At 230?
Yeah, because was it Sunday night? I was chewing a piece of taffy like you do, and then I felt something hard in the taffy, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I pulled the taffy, and it was my tooth in the taffy.
It was the crown of your tooth.
Yeah, the crown of my tooth. So I had to put it in a little jar, and I called them the next day. And it was funny. Here's the good thing about going, being a loyal customer to a place is, I've been going there for 15 years, same dentist, and I called and I said, hi, I lost a crown over the weekend. I still have it, but I need to have it put back on. And she says, oh man, we don't really have any openings soon. We're very full right now. She's like, can I have your name? I said, my name is Owen J. Bennett. She said, oh God, OJ, 9 a.m. tomorrow. We've got an opening.
That's great.
Yeah, I love that. Oh man, well, I hope it doesn't hurt. I said it's annoying. She said, "Oh man, well, we'll see you tomorrow."
That's great. That's great service. That's the service you get when you're a regular.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the relationship my parents might have had with the orthodontist.
Sure,
all of us went to. Both my mom and dad and myself and my sisters all went to see the same orthodontist.
Right, and there was I'm sure in his office he had a picture of a very large boat that's the USS Borner on it.
There ought to have been. But both my parents, I think before my parents even knew each other, both of them might have went and saw him, possibly. I can't actually confirm that, but I know both of them had their teeth worked on by Dr. Jesperson, who I believe is been retired for a while now at this point.
Really?
Thanks to my parents.
I'm sure he's out there right now saying, "Oh, hey, I just met you, and this is crazy." Yeah.
So not Jepsen. Jesperson.
I'm just imagining.
Carly Rae Jesperson. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
I think it would also be weird if it was an old retired orthodontist making them. Making that.
Well, it's like
video.
It's like South Park,
Sure.
where Stan's dad is Lord.
Right.
He comes up with the lyrics while he's taking a dump at work. And then he
To
just,
Royals?
yeah, and then he just goes and records it and auto-tunes his voice till he sounds like a girl, and that's Lord. And then he goes on stage and puts on a wig, and everybody believes that he's Lord because he is Lord.
Right.
That was a bizarre. That's like one of the last South Park things I actually watched. I think I watched a couple episodes with PC Principal, and then South Park just doesn't interest me anymore.
No,
I just I don't really jive with Matt and Trey's current worldview.
really.
Where it's just kind of like they strike me as the kind of centrist where they think everyone who has any opinion about anything is a moron.
Sure.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
It's just like, you care about this thing at all?
You're stupid.
You're fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, yeah, there are some people who care way too fucking much about things on either side.
And you can mock those people.
But like, just caring a little bit at all to them seems to be worthy of ridicule at this point. And I don't like. I think they've gotten too cynical.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're in their 50s now.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me anymore.
When you're in your 50s is when
that's
cynical.
when you become cynical. Well, you're getting close.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like you're already fairly cynical.
Well, I've always been fairly cynical.
You're the right kind of cynical, though. I think you're more of honestly, you strike me as more of a skeptic than a cynic.
Yeah.
There's an important difference between the two. It's easy to get them confused.
Right. Yeah. Cynical people, think the bad thing is the truth.
They think everything is shit.
Yeah, everything is shit. And then skeptical people hear things and go,
that might be shit. Let's wait and see. Let's find out if that's shit.
yeah, let's lick it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep, that was shit. Yeah.
Or, hey, surprisingly, that wasn't shit.
That was chocolate ice cream.
That was okay. All right. Yeah,
Rocky Road.
That's the difference between a skeptic and a cynic, I think. The skeptics leave room in their lives for joy.
Yes.
Cynics do not. I think that's with my loose understanding of philosophy.
We should talk about the band Cynic at some point on this.
I'm sure.
Because I forgot you said the word cynic. I'm like, that was a band.
We could talk about the Forgotten Realms character Sinric,
Sure.
who was a god at some point. I don't know. I think that was an Ed Greenwood original, the guy who made the Forgotten Realms setting. Anyway, I played Titanfall 2 over the weekend.
Yes.
I went kayaking on Saturday morning, and that was fun. That was nice, and hung out with my dad and my uncle for a little bit. And,
Nice.
And I came back up here, and I have Game Pass for PC now. Xbox Game Pass for PC. They should really just call it Microsoft Game Pass.
Sure.
But it's it's Xbox on PC.
They feel like they're branding and they're
that's it. Whatever. But I have that, and Titanfall is on there, so I can play it for free, more or less, for
Right.
a monthly subscription, along with hundreds of other games. So I played through all the campaign, and boy howdy, that's a solid fucking campaign.
Titanfall 2?
Titanfall 2,
Yeah.
great campaign.
Yeah, I've watched a bunch of it. My 10-year-old has the game, and
Nice. I was also happy to satisfy some of my Critical Role itch by hearing Matt Mercer as the main character. Just because there's a void in my life right now, because I don't have.
Wait, Matt Mercer is the main character in Titanfall 2?
Yeah, Matt Mercer voices Cooper.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. No, it's even just like it's his normal ass voice.
Right.
He's not doing any kind of accent or anything. It's just his normal voice. Like his other most well-known role is in Overwatch as the cowboy.
Oh, really?
What the hell is his name? Yeah, that's Matt Mercer. I don't remember that character's McCree.
McCree, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And he's doing a cowboy voice for that.
Sure.
But no, it's It was nice. God, that it's a really good campaign. And the thing I love about it is it felt like Respawn went, okay, we have this cool sci-fi setting. And we're not really super like invested in the world building of what this universe is.
Yeah.
So let's just do some cool sci-fi shit. What can we do? How about an entire level that's set in this constantly moving gigantic factory that's building these prefabricated combat domes or whatever. And you have to jump from platform to platform as they're moving through this factory and adding, different bits and bobs to these modular settings and whatnot. That was really cool. And then the next setting, they're like, what if we gave you a fucking time travel watch that let you jump between the present day and the past at will? And that was really fucking cool. Like every level was like, what are some cool things that we can do in science fiction? Or what's the gimmick of this level? Your robot picks you up and chucks you several hundred yards through the air because you need to get to that thing that's way over there, and your Titan can't get over there. So BT just throws you.
And BT is sentient. He's a person.
Yeah, BT is a whole ass person. He's not just like in the first Titanfall game, which was just multiplayer, but it had like a weird kind of multiplayer story that you would play the story through multiplayer matches, and whoever won the most matches and like got a roll going, you would complete that campaign and play through a sort of light story.
Gotcha. Like Mortal Kombat games, kind of.
Yeah, like that. And the impression in that is that Titans are kind of high tech but expendable.
Sure.
You see them getting built on the ship before you deploy in them as pilots, and you call them down. And that's I think I was doing some lore reading. That's most Titans, generally speaking.
Sure.
BT is specifically like the most advanced AI that the militia's created thus far, and the Vanguard is the best class of Titan that they have. And the other Titans have a much more bare bones AI and are a lot more reliant on their pilots. Whereas BT is really the main character of the story.
Sure.
Jack just kind of does what BT tells him to do. Because Jack is just like, I'm a rifleman who's gotten some pilot training.
Sure.
I don't really know what the fuck is going on. Whereas BT, on the other hand, his pilot was like uber special forces and knows what you're supposed to be doing.
All Jack has to do is like be nimble and quick.
Yes. I get the joke, but also, yes, that's because that's right. Titanfall's whole gimmick is the advanced movement mechanics.
Right.
And zipping around with your jump pack and wall running and
yeah, that's cool. I love the wall running.
Sliding across the floor, and like there's the movement mechanics are great. I dearly hope that Respawn decides at some point to make a Titanfall 3. It feels like they won't because Apex Legends is continuing to do so well for them.
Right, and that's the same universe.
Yes.
It's in the,
Apex takes place 30 years after Titanfall 2.
Right.
And
my son was playing Apex tonight, and he threw the controller.
Yeah. It's the thing is though, I know several other full grown adults who play Apex, and they don't really have any more positive experiences than your son does.
Sure.
I think it's just a very frustrating game if you're not winning.
Yeah, you know what? I love to watch him do, and I've tried to talk him out of this, but you can't. It's like talking to an addict. I'm telling you, he's goddamn this. He doesn't say goddamn, but he says the 10-year-old equivalent of it.
Yeah,
and he's throwing, he's mad, and his face is red, and his hair's sticking up. And he's
why are you playing this?
He said, "Why are you playing this?" "I don't know. I'm gonna play a different game, Fortnite." And
yeah,
dude, why? Okay,
you're just going to a different flavor of frustrating.
Yeah. But
hey, they're both free.
Yeah, they are both free.
They're both free to play. But speaking of addicts, another game since Microsoft acquired Bethesda a few months ago, another game that was on Game Pass.
Yep,
was Skyrim. And
did you get it again?
I downloaded it, but I didn't pay for it.
Well, that's good.
Todd didn't get any more of my fucking money.
No, for what?
Instead, Phil Spencer got my money.
But just for the membership. But I mean, but you got it on your PC?
Yeah. And so I started to play through, and there's mods and whatnot on the special edition. There have been forever that you can download mods on there. Most of them are not particularly. I didn't come across any that I thought were worthwhile other than the bug fix one. Although one I wish I had is because the idea I had for a character is just like, I've never played a destruction mage. Okay, I want to play. What's a weird choice for a destruction mage? Female orc. But the thing is, I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Because in Fallout 4, you can make any character, regardless of gender, beefy as hell.
Sure.
Skyrim, the slider only goes up to slightly thicker. Just like
female. Doesn't change your stats at all.
It doesn't change your stats.
She looks.
She like just slight. There adds no muscle tone whatsoever. Dudes, you go from skinny ass scrawny dude to fucking Arnold.
Sure.
To Arnold in his prime. That's your muscle slider for dudes in Skyrim. For women, it's just like you go from a size 0 to a size 2, basically. And it's like, no, I want to be a fucking beefcake. Let me be an orcish beefcake.
A beefcake lady.
I want to be a beefy orcish lady. And it's like, no, couldn't do it. So it's just like, all right, fuck it. So I continue because I've never done a destruction mage.
Really?
Or just any kind of pure mage in Skyrim. I played like a kind of paladin-esque build with a different orc character that I had, where it was two-handed heavy armor, but also restoration magic.
You know, that's usually what I go. I usually go with one-handed and restoration.
Well, because you can have the spell. You don't have to switch, which on console was kind of a pain in the ass, switching between two-handed to, okay, now I got to take up the restoration spell, and okay, now I got to get the sword back out again.
Just eat cheese. Just eat cheese.
That's kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But no, now I'm doing mostly destroy. The thing about Skyrim is character builds only matter for like the first 20 or 30 levels.
Sure.
After that, you're picking up whatever it is you want for the rest of the game. It's like you're only this pure kind of character at the start, so you can at least have a skill that is good enough.
Yeah.
You have a focus that can carry you through encounters on a reasonable difficulty without playing it on like baby difficulty.
You know, it's sad though. You know, the way I usually actually play it as I do an even build through the whole thing. If I look and I realize, oh shit, I'm not good at talking to people yet. I'll go to the Bard's College.
Yeah,
I'll
pay 5,000 gold over and wait, spend like a week just standing in the courtyard of the Bard's College to wait for the training NPC to reset their bank or whatever.
Right.
So you can keep on paying them to increase your skills. Yeah. I usually do focused builds at the start, mostly because I like to play on a slightly higher difficulty just because I don't like I don't like completely melting my way through every single encounter in Skyrim. I like for there to be a bit of challenge to it, which I had started to feel that I was playing on like Adept, which is middle difficulty.
Sure.
That's, the default that it started on. And just with the regular flames spell and two-handing it without any upgrades.
Even though you don't have the two-handed ability yet.
Yeah, you can't focus it, using it in both hands. And I was like melting my way through like the starting enemies. And I was just like, wow, I might have to ratchet things up. And then I went to Bleak Falls Barrow and faced the giant spider in there.
Sure.
And it very nearly like killed me in 2 hits.
Right.
And was like, oh, okay. It's just that all the enemies I've faced up until this point have been fucking easy as shit. And this is, an enemy that is like, I don't think that spider scales at all. That spider's always at the same difficulty.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's
like the Draugr.
It's like, oh, I'm definitely a squishy ass wizard. I just haven't, I've been able to dodge out of the way of everything until this fucking spider. Because it's an open arena with nothing to hide behind and nothing to get the janky AI stuck on. That game is 10 years old.
Yeah. Well, it will be this November.
Yes. On 11/11 this November.
Right.
It'll be that's 11/11 next year is when supposedly what the hell is it called? What is it? What the Starfield? Bethesda's new sci-fi IP is supposed to come out next year. I don't have much faith in that, to be honest. Bethesda, the video game developer, has really let a lot of people down over the last few years.
The shine is off the bloom.
Yeah. I'm just kind of wondering how they're gonna, if they can recover their reputation. I'm not really sure what the buzz was after their E3 presentation.
Yeah,
because I mean, so many people were so turned off by Fallout 76, which they're still desperately trying to push it. Mm-hmm. They're still desperately trying to push for people to play Fallout 76.
Not going to happen.
I think there are people who are playing it, but like I think you go to any Walmart across the country and they will have physical copies of Fallout 76 for $2.
It's in the bin.
They will have a stack of copies of Fallout 76 for $2.
Yeah, I'll take this copy of Fallout 76, this copy of Rush Hour on DVD. They're all in the same bin. Yeah, you know what game that my son and I almost bought the other day? It Takes Two. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. It's a co-op game.
Yeah, it's actually really neat. It feels a whole lot like that The Little Big Planet series. That's kind of the feel of the game.
Well, because you play as two little toys. Well, you're human parents.
Yeah, and your husband and wife that are trying to tell their kid they want to get a divorce.
Well, they do tell the kid, I believe, that they want to get a divorce, I think. And then she runs off crying, and the magic of her child's tears turns her parents into toys who then have to
work together.
Yeah. And there's the book character, the Book of Love, where it sounds so much like someone trying really, really hard to do a Robin Williams impression. Like Robin Williams doing this character with like a Latin accent. It sounds so much like that. That character, the design of that character weirds me the fuck out. He looks really bizarre. Yeah. Like because the two toys, the dolls or whatever, the mom and dad, they have, they just have black eyes and their faces are very expressive, but like their eyes
are buttons.
Are buttons and it looks cute. And then he's got like the book has real person eyes and it's fucking frightening.
The mom and dad are a little bit scary in there.
They're a little bizarre looking.
It's like a possessed doll that's walking.
But it's not as distressing to me as the way that book looks. But he just looks fucking weird looking. I don't something about. I've been on Oni Plays. They've been playing that because it's a co-op game.
Sure.
And it looks really fun.
It is. Okay. And this is how they're doing shit now. You can download this game for free. Cool, they're offering it for free, but it's only the first hour of the game.
Yeah,
that's free, and then you can buy the full game.
Get a date. Well, they've done that forever though. Is demos,
right?
Like you could you've been able to download demos for a very long time.
But they buried the lead there. That this is just a demo. I didn't know.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
it happens. So do we want to talk about
Speaking of demos? Yeah,
I'm sure this had some demo tapes that they got ready to go. Although I feel like with Converge, they probably don't really need to do a whole lot of demoing, considering that their producer and engineer is the guitarist for the band.
Sure.
Like demos are a thing that bands typically do, so they have something prepared when they go into the studio and something to work off of. They don't need to really do that when it comes to getting time with Kurt, because he's just as invested in what they're making as everybody else. I've always wondered how that works though with bands where you self-produce. But it's not like 100% DIY in the sense that like there are bands who self-produce, but the whoever is handling the bulk of the engineering isn't necessarily like a professional engineer. Like, you produce it DIY and then you're done. And then you make the music and you're not like, you don't pursue audio engineering and music production as a career.
Sure.
Versus when you've got someone like Kurt or someone like Will from Fit for an Autopsy, does the band have to pay for engineering and production? Does the band have to pay for studio time?
I feel like no. I feel like that's a perk of the job. I guess
it would have to be.
They probably have to buy Kurt dinner at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just something that I wonder because you do have to consider that, like, okay, while the band is in there doing it, if they're doing it for free, that is time in the schedule that you don't have to be making money producing stuff for somebody else.
Sure. Yeah, but this is hopefully something that's going to make money for you.
Yeah.
In the long run.
So it probably balances out.
Right.
I think. It's just I could see it working either way. Probably at us if they pay if they pay Kurt specifically anything, it's probably at a extreme discount. I imagine.
It's just a small amount of coke and one whore.
It's, hey, Kurt, we need this particular amp.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually Kurt going, I need this particular amp, because the man is a bit of a gearhead. I mean, he's an audio engineer. So, of course,
he's an audiophile. Yes.
He's he's an engineer on top of being a guitarist. So those are two comorbid situations as far as
a comorbidity.
Yeah, that's a comorbidity when it comes to gear addiction. But All We Love, We Leave Behind came out in 2012
when Kurt was 38.
Yes, so long. He's such a young spring chicken. These guys had already been making music for 22 years at that point as Converge. If you don't know about Converge, they're a band from Salem, Massachusetts. They were formed in 1990 when all the members of the band at that time were in high school. The two founding members of the band that have remained with, in the band since that time are Kurt Ballou on guitar and Jacob Bannon on vocals.
Yes.
They went through a couple of lineup changes. I believe Stephen Brodsky from Cave In played bass for them for a little while before he went and did other things.
Right. Like Cave In. Yeah.
Yeah, like Cave In. And was replaced by Nate Newton. And then the drummer that they had throughout the not throughout the night. They had a couple different drummers throughout the 90s. But in the early 2000s was also replaced by Ben Collar. And since 2000, they've had the same lineup, which is Kurt, Jake, Ben, and Nate. So very, very stable lineup when it comes to, a metal band or a hardcore band that has formed in the last 30 years. I feel like there's so many newer bands that just file through members and so many older bands too. It's just, that's the nature of the beast. I think when it comes to making music in a band, right, is just like, people go and do other things, but they've all stuck together for quite a long time. These are, especially in their genre, if you want to call them a metalcore band, they're fucking geezers. These are the oldest guys in the game when it comes to this style of music. Sure. The hipster thing, I don't know if you really call it hipster. The elitist thing is to call Converge metallic hardcore to distance them from, bands like Asking Alexandria. You call Converge metallic hardcore. Sure. And metalcore is, for 20-year-olds with emo hair and gauges and stuff. But that's the most. I'm not saying that because I think that way.
That's not a personal bias.
There's a lot of, although there's not a lot of that kind of band that I listen to anymore. I think most of those bands are fine, but I just sort of I grew away from that style. Like the only metalcore band of that generation that I still enjoy is Silent Planet, and that's about it.
Do you really like Silent Planet?
No, I say wearing a hat with their logo.
And your sweater over here.
My sweatshirt over there with their logo on it, and a shirt in my bedroom with their stuff. I like Silent Planet maybe just a little bit. 2012, this was the newest album of theirs when I started listening to them. Sure. And I started listening to them, I want to say in 2015. Maybe it was 2014. I think I had tried a little bit to get into them and sort of went, I don't really like that.
So you've been like 18 at the time.
Yeah, I was like 18 and it just wasn't quite my thing yet. And then I think it was by like summer, by spring and summer of that year. I think I had sort of grown to like them a little bit more. Or maybe it would have been my. I'm trying to. Yeah. It would have been the summer after my freshman year of college when I started liking them more, because I was at that point. The summer before my junior year is when the summer before. My brain's not working right now. The summer after I graduated high school.
Yes.
I went to Warped Tour and I watched Every Time I Die and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I started listening to Every Time I Die, which sort of eased me into the weird, insane kind of stuff that Dots Converge's discography. This is not quite as weird as something like Jane Doe, which, trying to read about Converge, everyone's like, listen to Jane Doe, listen to Jane Doe, listen to Jane Doe. And I was not ready for that. Mm-hmm. That's like someone saying, I'm vaguely interested in death metal. And you're like, okay, here's Obscura by Gorguts.
That's a lead in right there.
Yeah.
That's step one into death metal.
And so I was not ready for Jane Doe at that point, but I listened to Converge and I'd listened to Every Time I Die and eased into it. And then I was in the radio room at school, and they had No Heroes on CD. Someone had brought it in and left it there, and I was like, I'm just gonna take this. They also, I believe, had a case for I want to say it was which Every Time I Die album was it? I think it was New Junk Aesthetic.
Okay.
I think they had the case for that, but there was no disc in it, which was extremely disappointing. So I absconded with that No Heroes CD, and I still have it. And that I listened to that, and then I sat myself down over the summer at one point, because I think we were looking at the venue for Hannah and Josh's wedding, and we were just like helping them out with stuff, and I forced myself while we were driving around Bismarck. I just sat down and forced myself to listen to all of Jane Doe, and it just kind of clicked. And I was like, "Oh, you like this now? This is good." Felt my brain chemistry rearranging to be like, "You enjoy this now."
What was the first metal album that you would say you identified with?
I don't fucking know.
You don't know?
It was a slow. It was a slow descent into metal, if you want to call it that.
Into madness.
It was a slow ramp.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts with Linkin Park.
Sure. Okay.
It starts with Linkin Park, and then it slowly ramps up into weirder and more aggressive stuff.
Sure.
After that, it goes like Linkin Park,
Poison.
No, it was like Linkin Park.
Cinderella,
Rise Against.
I forgot about Rise Against.
Avenged Seven. Rise Against is a punk band,
right?
Avenged Sevenfold, A Day to Remember, and then it was like, I think there was some time in between there where there was not a whole lot that I discovered, and then it was like a wave of like All That Remains, Killswitch Engage.
Sure.
Shortly after that was like Architects and August Burns Red. And I started getting more and more into a whole bunch of different metalcore bands. And then after that,
Bring Me the Horizon.
Bring Me the Horizon was definitely in there. And then after that, slowly I started getting into deathcore. And so that was like Whitechapel and Ocean O and Chelsea Grin and Rings of Saturn.
Sure.
And Shadow of Intent and stuff like that. Was a little bit later with Shadow of Intent, but like slowly getting more into deathcore and heavier stuff. And then I started getting into classic death metal.
Sure.
With it was modern stuff, but it was from like classic bands like Aborted, and there was a little bit of Dying Fetus in there, and I can't remember. There was
a Dead Baby theme going on.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just the names stuck out to me. I was like, I'll give this a shot.
Sure.
There's Infant Annihilator in there. Again, it's a weird trend.
Yeah.
But there was that, and there's something that's escaping me. here.
Like cattle decapitation.
Yeah, there's cattle decapitation was like sophomore, junior year of college. I can't remember. Cattle decapitation was like a big, like, kind of opening thing. And there was I started listening to some grindcore, Big Destroyer, and that sort of thing. It was, like I said, it was just slowly ramping into weirder, more aggressive, or sometimes more progressive,
or more esoteric.
Esoteric. And there's sophomore year of college, junior year of college. I think it was when I first moved into an apartment is when I started listening to more and more post rock stuff. And that led me into other territories. But yeah, that's my music journey. Sure, I guess.
I do remember though when you first started working for the company, you were walking out and you were talking about how you were doing your college, not thesis, but you were doing a paper on heavy metal.
At some point.
And I remember at some point you were saying there's a lot of things that people used to call heavy metal that definitely isn't metal. I'm thinking, I want to have this conversation, but I'm working today, and there is no time.
I don't remember. I don't even remember what it would have been at that point or when. There was probably a ton of different assignments that I did in school about metal. Because it's a thing that you're interested in. And when they say, write a thing about anything you want, well, that's the thing I'm going to do. I had a speech class where I did a presentation on Warhammer. Because of course I did. Because I'm that
the thing
guy.
You know.
Because it's a thing I know. But anyway, let's get back to Converge, the subject at hand. So what did you think about this? You mentioned at the start of the episode that you dug this a lot more than so many of the other. Well, we've only listened to 2 other Converge albums on the program, but
and I really like this one. It may not have been a quality issue or just the song style issue. It may have just been that I was in the fucking mood for it this week.
Could be.
Which I listened to it.
On the other hand, this is a very good album.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, there are actually songs on here I re-listened to and wanted to go back and, okay, this is good. Oh, I really like this, and I really like this. I want to go listen to this again.
Also, there's a lot of songs on this album.
There are a lot of songs on this.
It's not particularly long. I think it's only...
No, there's a couple of minute 43 tracks on here.
It's 45 minutes, but there are 17 tracks on here. There are definitely several songs that I don't think anyone would really argue with you if you call them grindcore songs, which is not out of character for Converge. That's
an element they use.
An influence that they have pulled on it for some songs on all of their albums, pretty much.
And one thing I also heard a lot of on here that just struck me as early 1990s Slayer. It sort of felt like
and
that.
They have said that, like, at the start of their career, Kurt has basically said, like, I was just playing kind of hardcoreized Slayer riffs, and they sort of developed from there. And there's a lot of the ethos of that, 90s kind of, 80s and 90s sort of DIY sound, that sort of dirty, not super cleaned up production. Like this, the sound quality of this is great, but what I mean by not super cleaned up is that if the guitar squeals a little bit, if you pick up a little bit of feedback, don't worry about it. It stays in.
I like that.
It's a very naturalistic recording style that Kurt specifically wanted to go for, because he was like, I want this album to sound the way the music will sound live.
Right.
I don't want this to sound like something that we cannot reproduce in a live setting.
And they really hit the nail on the head with this.
This sounds fantastic. It sounds almost like you're at a live show. The only difference will be that Jake's lyrics will be far more indecipherable in a live show.
Right.
Just because he still performs very much in the way that many hardcore punk vocalists have throughout the history of hardcore punk, which is if you're doing screamed vocals, you cup the mic, you hold the mic, in between both of your hands in a cup, and then you put that over your mouth, and that sort of amplifies your own vocals and kind of garbles them up a little bit. Which I think also means that you don't have to scream quite as hard.
Right.
Jake's vocal technique is the sort of thing where he kind of just learned how to do it on his own. and sees no reason to change it. He can still do that and still perform and tour, and it's working for him, and it's a part of Converge's sound. If he went to a vocal coach and learned how to scream properly, it would suddenly no longer sound like Converge.
Sure.
A big part of their sound is that Jake's screamed vocals are just nasty sounding. When he is screaming, because he's not always screaming. There's a lot on this that's yelled, and there's a little bit on this that's sung.
Yeah,
not a lot, but there's a little bit on here that is sung. And but when he is screaming, you can't understand a single goddamn thing. It's not like Travis Ryan, where Travis Ryan's diction while he's doing
perfect.
Unclean vocals.
His pronunciation
is very good. It's pretty easy to decipher what he's saying unless he's doing really, really guttural stuff.
Yeah, the where he sounds like an old hog.
Yeah, or like you threw some marbles into a garbage disposal. Unless he's doing that, but otherwise it's easy to understand him. Jacob Bannon has never done that. You can't. I think there's a total of about 5 words on all of Jane Doe that you can actually understand. that I can anyway, and most of them are in the title track because that has a little bit of semi-clean vocals on it, but it's really just a part of the charm of Converge is Jake's vocals are treated more like another instrument rather than a focus of the song, because I think there's there's a lot of bands where of course the singer is the focus, they're the front man, and the lyrics are the thing that keep your interest.
Not with Converge. And I think a lot of metal bands are that way.
Yeah. That's more of a pop music thing, but like a lot of metal bands, the vocals are just another element that adds to the overall painting of the song.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people throw that criticism by me when I'll be playing something that's good classic death metal, and somebody will say, "How do you understand what the fuck they're saying?"
I don't.
It's written down.
Yeah,
I can just read it.
If I want to know what he's saying, I will look up the lyrics. Oh, surprise, surprise. He's talking about murdering someone. It's a death metal song. What did you expect? The lyrics are not, in death metal, the lyrics are not anything that you really need to read for most bands.
Sure.
If you're listening to early Opeth, then check out the lyrics. There's probably some cool kind of poetic stuff in there. Or if you're listening to I was going to say if you're listening to Cattle Decapitation, but if you're listening to Cattle Decapitation, you can probably understand the lyrics.
Yes.
You can if you are a death metal fan. I think a person who's never listened to death metal would probably not understand what Travis is saying. But if you've heard other people do death growls, then you'll find Travis's vocal style is a lot more decipherable. Speaking of lyrics and stuff, that's always a big part of any Converge album is okay, I want to know what Jake is saying. They are a lot more decipherable than on most of their other albums. And that was a sort of theme that continues with The Dusk in Us later on is it's a little bit easier to understand what he's saying, especially, of course, when he's yelling and, if he's singing and whatnot. But even his screamed vocals are a bit more decipherable. And Jacob's lyrical style is always very poetic, not super literal. It's pretty metaphorical. It's not a Dan Campbell situation where everything's like a 1-to-1, this is a real thing that definitely happened. But most of the lyrics on here are relating to their lives, but dramatized in a sense. The title track specifically, and the name of the album, and sort of the general theme of the album, the title track was about a dog of his that had passed away.
Oh, wow.
And All We Love, We Leave Behind, the lyrics of the song specifically were kind of thanking, and you can extrapolate it to any sort of loved one in your life.
Sure.
But thanking someone for being there and supporting you and giving you love, even if you weren't around to return the favor all the time. And it was basically him lamenting that, I had this creature that loved me unconditionally, but I spent so much of its life away from it. And just sort of feeling bad about that, essentially, that's a sad thing. Is like having, and that's any musician. I feel like any touring musician, any family member, whether it's children.
I have a daughter who loves me unconditionally, and she's seen me 5 times in her whole life.
Yeah, like it's that sort of thing. I think any musician understands that sort of pain, or any it's the same, a similar sort of pain for anybody who spends a long time away from home. Can identify with it. It's not just musicians. It's so many other people.
It's a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
Like you grow up and you only see your father on TV, but then you later on become a fashion model and actress and get to play a character like Arwen on
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings,
okay,
right?
There we go. Yeah. Well, she didn't know that he was her dad until she was like a teenager.
I think that is the case. I think her mom didn't reveal that.
Yeah, but we're talking about Liv Tyler.
Yeah.
For anyone who's unaware, we're talking about my greatest childhood crush, Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler.
You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong.
No. Everybody's into Liv Tyler. Who's not infatuated with Liv Tyler? Anyway. This is slap.
Yeah. This slaps.
This slaps a lot.
It
slaps
does.
a lot.
Uh-huh.
This is, I think, I want to say, as far as like guitar tone goes, and I think this carried over to their next album as well, but this is like, I don't know if they used a lower tuning on this but it hits, it's so punchy. This is a very punchy album, and they've continued with that sort of guitar tone going forward. And I think it was around this, a little bit after this maybe, that Kurt did the production for Nails' second album.
Oh, sure.
I can't remember the name of that album, but like that's one of like the gnarliest, most just punchiest, just sledgehammeriest guitar tones I've ever heard.
What is the name of that? There's a band. Oh, I was thinking of you, and I thought I should bring this to the podcast. And for some reason, I can't remember the name of the band right now. They're an 80s Euro thrash band, and I don't know what they do with their guitar and bass sound together, but it sounds like some sort of very large electric tree trimmer. It's with their sound. As you listen, you're going, "Oh shit, man!
What is that?
They're gonna cut me in half with this shit. This is great.
That is great. I would love to hear Converge attempt a doom metal album or a track.
Sure,
I would love to. And that's one of the things that I think they, like vintage gear and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And that's a big part of their sound, I think, is sort of a kind of a vintage element. It's a very, very analog sound to all of their music, which really lends itself well for their slower tracks. You were mentioning Coral Blue.
Yeah, I love that song.
With The Other Night, which is one of your favorite tracks on here, I think. And that's a great track, and that's one of their slower songs. They have like one or two slow songs on every album.
Yeah, they have the Sadness Comes Home. I love that song as well.
That one ramps up and gets...
At the end, yeah.
At the end, gets to a pretty frantic pace towards the end. But like every album since Jane Doe has a slow and mostly like clean song.
Sure.
Song on it. No Heroes had Grim Heart Black Rose. It was before that there was on You Fail Me. The name of it escapes me at the moment, and I was looking for my phone and I couldn't find it, and it's over here. But then on Axe to Fall there's also I texted you this list the other night, so I'm just going to look at it. Yeah, In Her Shadow on You Family, Grim Heart Black Rose from No Heroes,
sure.
Wretched World on Axe to Fall. Wretched World is like one of my favorite Converge songs. And most of that is not sung by Jake. Same with Grim Heart Black Rose. That's not Jake singing on most of that.
Who is it?
I can't remember. I think it might have been somebody from Cave In, actually.
It's a singer from Fudge Tunnel.
Yeah. On Wretched World, I'm pretty sure it's also somebody from Cave In, but it's someone different. Thousands of Miles Between Us and the title track from The Dusk and Us are also of that style. Converge also started doing at certain music festivals what they call blood moon sets, which are if they are there with Cave In and Chelsea Wolfe is around, they will do a show of just their slow songs with like remixed, and Chelsea Wolfe is there and does vocals with them.
Wow.
And that's really fucking cool. And I really love all their slow tracks. I'm a big fan of their slower tracks. Or when they take a moment to just let things breathe and let things build. Are you having?
I'm having this weird pain in the bottom of my left leg, and it's just like lightning going through my leg. I don't know what the hell it is.
Well, that sounds bad.
I'm sure it'll go away.
Hopefully you don't have like a blood clot or something.
Oh, no,
not you.
I have many years of suffering to endure. I have no blood clots.
Okay. Blood, you got that blood just flowing around you, perfectly unobstructed. But yeah, I really like some of their slower tracks.
I also like the last two tracks, which really kind of serve as one song. The Precipice and the title track.
For me, those aren't the last two. I also have Runaway and Predatory Glow.
Oh, so I didn't.
As the last two. Maybe you didn't actually finish the album.
No,
those last two are fairly short. I don't know if Spotify has like it's a deluxe edition. Okay. Spotify has a deluxe edition with 2 more songs. They're fine. They're just more tracks. I forgot I was listening to the deluxe edition because I was like, the title track should really be the last song, and then there's 2 more. And that's why there's 2 more, is because it's the deluxe edition.
I got Predatory Glow, but it's like
earlier in there.
Yeah, it's earlier.
Okay. I don't. Spotify. This has happened to us before, where Spotify does weird stuff when compared to Amazon. But Precipice. Those are my favorites. Well, first of all, 88 on Metacritic. This is one of their.
It's good if you find 100 on Metacritic. There's something that's gotten. There was one review, and it was their mom that liked it. I mean,
this was one of their best reviewed album. I mean, Jane Doe is like universally beloved, but as far as past Jane, because Jane Doe came out in 2001 in the state of reviewing underground metal albums on the internet in 2001 was not particularly refined at that point in time. But had 88 on Metacritic. It was one of their best selling albums up till that point, until The Dusk in Us came out. It was one of their best charting albums. The Dusk in Us has an 89, just beat it by 1 point. But I like this one better, to be honest. I like this one more than The Dusk in Us. Although I might have to, now that I say that, I'm going to have to give The Dusk in Us another listen.
Give it a fair shake.
Just to see. I don't like this one a lot more than The Dusk. I like all Converge stuff.
Sure.
All of their stuff is on a fairly high pedestal for me. It's just there's some things that I like more than others. But my favorite tracks, I said Precipice and the title track because they lead into each other.
Yeah.
Precipice is...
It's like the same song.
Yeah, basically. Precipice is the same riff, just slower.
Right.
And less... It's less cohesive. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's...
Sure, but it kind of comes together and it adds for build up to...
Yeah. Similar thing to... There's a Caspian album called... Caspian's album before the one that we listened to. It's... Dust and Disquiet. The track before the title track on that, which is also the last one, is the same riff from that title track, but slowed down and sort of just kind of jammed without like no percussion, just sort of the clean guitar riff. And that's sort of what was going on with Precipice. It was just kind of the clean guitar riff and bass. And I'm a sucker for like ambient lead-in tracks like that.
I'm with you.
And I really like, I really love the title track on this. It's, I think it builds up so masterfully. And then I love the way that it ends where it just kind of crashes. And then you've got this squealing guitars before everything cuts off. I love that as well. And that's a big thing that they have I think that's just a thing that Kurt likes to do because the most recent Nails album, which is kind of weird because Nails hasn't like put out a full album in a while to my knowledge. nails You Will Never Be One of Us. A lot of tracks on that sound like that as well, where it's like squealing guitars and then track cuts off. And I really like that. I love that. I like some of the extra noise, and it sort of makes you uncomfortable a little bit. Or like, you hear Kurt changing finger positions, and you hear, a bit of feedback as he's moving his hands across the fretboard, and none of that shit. That shit's not cut out in Pro Tools the way that it might be for somebody else. Like,
well, he was saying he was doing just a hardcore version of Slayer. Maybe he's just random blooding it. I mean,
possibly. Well, I mean, Converge doesn't really do much in the way for guitar solos.
No, they don't. No.
Not that Kerry King's guitar solos have ever been particularly artful, but
I think they are artful, just in that.
Well, it fits with the type of painting that Slayer is.
Exactly.
It's the perfect type of guitar solo for Slayer. It's just that when you compare it to like a John Petrucci guitar solo, they serve different purposes
entirely.
They're different tools for different purposes. It's like comparing a hammer to a wrench.
I couldn't get this bolt out with the hammer.
I don't know why. But what was your favorite song? I think I know what it is.
I really like I said, Coral Blue. But like. Also, like, I don't know, something very, very charming about Sadness Comes Home, and
I really like Sadness Comes Home as well. There's a lot there that I like. I like Vicious Muse.
Vicious Muse, great song.
That's a short track. It's about 2 minutes, and there's like a weird, like, kind of out of character thing for Converge, where there's like a chant, like the sort of thing where you can imagine Jake sort of pointing the mic out into the crowd and having several hundred to a few thousand people chanting that out. It gets me so fucking hyped every time I hear it. It gets me really hyped up and just keeps the energy going. This is like, for so much of it, such a relentless album. Like it just keeps blasting and blasting and blasting.
It does.
And I like a lot of the tracks. I like Shame in the Way as well.
I like Veins and Veils.
Veins and Veils is great. Sparrow's Fall is great. Aimless Arrow is great. Trespasses is great. There's every
you
song.
just gotta list all the songs.
Every song's a fucking banger.
It is.
Like there's so many fucking bangers on this track. I'm not particularly fond of On My Shield. I think I don't much care for the main riff on that one. I think it goes on for too long. Part of that also might be because it's towards the end of the album and I just want to get to the title track because I love that song so much, and I'm just like, skip this one. I want to go to the next one. I want to hear the last one. But what medal are you bestowing upon this? Like Maskanata to Chewbacca?
Well, the main thing for me is, do you want to listen to it again? And the answer is yes. So gold. Have to give it a gold.
Yeah, I'm giving this gold as well. This is an album that I hadn't listened to for a long time, especially since this is one of the albums that I listened to the most when I first started listening to Converge. I was working at Power Plant the summer that I started getting into Converge, and I listened to this over and over and over and over again that summer. I hadn't listened to this for quite some time, but I've come back and really, really enjoyed myself. So I think I'm just going to be on a Converge kick for a while. Just going to be listening to that and get my metallic hardcore fix until the time comes when Every Time I Die will finally release the album that's been done for over a year. But anyway, next week, what are you thinking?
An album that to your ears is going to sound like pretty standard thrash metal.
Okay.
But in reality, in 1987...
revolutionary.
Fucking revolutionary. We're going to listen to Sodom, Persecution Mania.
Okay. Persecution Mania by Sodom. Is there a companion album by Gomorrah?
I don't think so. There might be.
There has to be. There's
to be
definitely a metal band called Gomorrah, right? Those two better have gone on tour together. right? Like, there's no goddamn way. If there's two metal bands that existed at the same time named Sodom and Gomorrah, and those two didn't do a fucking tour together, what are the troops even fighting for?
Gomorrah. Let's see. It's a metal band. There's a metal band called Gomorrah.
Of course it is.
From the Encyclopedia Metallum. No, they kind of
significantly. I mean, because I've heard of Sodom.
Yeah.
Sodom are a known quantity. I've not heard of a band called Gomorrah.
Yeah, they had 2 full-length albums, Caress the Grotesque and Reflections of Inanimate Matter.
Those sound like death metal album titles.
They do, and this is what the band looks like. So,
those are like young fellas. That looks like a relatively new picture.
Maybe.
Let me look at it. Yeah, they're not super young looking, but that looks like a fairly new picture. They might be.
It's hard to say in the digital age.
Well, it says 1991, so they might have been somewhat contemporary with Sodom. Anyway, that's what we're listening to next week is Sodom, not Gomorrah.
Not Gomorrah.
This would just be Zoe Saldana in the makeup.
Sure.
Singing or something. I don't know. You could do that. Anyway, till we do our next episode, you can find our pages on Facebook or on Twitter, and we post episode links there if you want to listen to us on your browser, on your computer. Otherwise, on your mobile device, you can find us in the Apple Podcast app or on the Podcast Source app by Libsyn on your Android device.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.